This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, September 26, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The Justice Department has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for perjury and obstruction. I'm Jeff McKay with the details.
A new proposed deal is good news for TikTok fans.
Especially the young people, they really wanted this to happen.
I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump promising a crackdown on groups that promote political violence. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, the S&P 500 index is on its longest losing streak in a month. Plus, we get a new rate on inflation this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A case against President Trump by a former FBI agent is tossed, and Diddy prepares for Judgment Day. Donna Warder has that story.
An outside review reveals flaws in response to the deadly wildfires in January around Los Angeles. I'm Ed Donahue.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Former FBI Director James Comey indicted for perjury and obstruction. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay has details.
Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted on charges of making a false statement and obstruction related to his testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2020, which happened just days after President Donald Trump issued a public demand for the Justice Department to act. The charges follow the president's ouster of U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Eric Siebert, who had expressed doubts internally about bringing cases against Comey, as well as New York Attorney General Letitia James, after Trump appointed him to lead the office. Siebert was replaced by interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, a White House aide and Donald Trump's former defense attorney. ABC News had reported earlier this week that federal prosecutors in Virginia informed Halligan they could not establish probable cause to charge Comey. The charges against Comey are tied to testimony he gave to a Senate committee when questioned by Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
What Mr. McCabe is saying and what you testified to this committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth?
I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by what the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017.
So your testimony is you've never authorized anyone to leak. And Mr. McCabe, if he says contrary, is not telling the truth. Is that correct?
Again, I'm not going to characterize Andy's testimony, but mine is the same today.
In response to the charges, Comey released a public statement on Instagram declaring his innocence and vowing to fight the charges.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump. But we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
A statement released by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia said that if convicted, Comey faces up to 5 years in prison, but added, quote, actual sentences for federal crimes are typically less than the maximum penalties. President Trump called Comey on Truth Social one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to, but denied a direct involvement in the Justice Department's actions. Comey must now turn himself in, and his first court arraignment is scheduled for October 9th. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
President Trump has signed an executive order that paves the way for a TikTok deal that could transfer majority ownership of the app to Americans. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports.
After the president signed the executive order, Vice President J.D. Vance explained the fundamental goal.
We wanted to keep TikTok operating, but we also wanted to make sure that we protected Americans' data privacy as required by law.
The order clears the way for all sides to finalize an agreement that will transfer 80% of TikTok ownership to U.S. investors. China would still own 20%. As for which investors, the president cited one in particular, and his company.
Larry Ellison. And Oracle, I guess, is going to play a very big role in terms of security, safety, and everything else.
He added that tech entrepreneur Michael Dell and media mogul Rupert Murdoch will also be involved. Trump says all Americans will benefit by TikTok continuing to operate in the U.S.
Especially the young people, they really wanted this to happen.
But one reporter in the Oval Office raised this question.
Do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content prioritized?
I always like MAGA-related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA-related. It's actually a good question, but I would, yeah, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately. No, everyone's going to be treated fairly. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly.
One big question, does the deal comply with the law that Congress passed and Trump signed requiring TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance to divest or be banned in the U.S.? The president's executive order contends the deal meets what he labels the qualified divestiture standard set by Congress. I'm Richard Johnson.
Trump attacks political violence. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Much anticipated rain arrives for one area of the country. That and the outlook. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Yes, this weekend does bring a higher chance for some rain to parts of the Southwest that really need it, thanks to a plume of moisture rising northward into more of the region over time. Today's showers and storms should be most numerous from eastern Arizona toward the southern part of the border with New Mexico, and that same area could really get into some downpours through at least Saturday, if not Sunday as well. This means that even though the rain will provide a welcome dent in the drought conditions, there could still be too much rain in some spots for the dry ground to be able to fully absorb, leading to some areas of flash flooding. Thunderstorms may be able to turn locally severe at times as well, with a risk for gusty winds accompanied by lightning that AccuWeather wildfire experts say should raise the fire risk through this weekend. The southeast also looks rather active today, where a cold front makes very little progress through the day while taking advantage of warm and moist conditions near and to the east of it to produce plenty of showers and storms from northern Florida to north central Virginia. Some of this activity may be rather heavy from northeastern Florida through eastern parts of the Carolinas and into southern, perhaps even central Virginia, bringing high rainfall rates that may lead to ponding on roadways. To the north of that area, more widely separated and generally lighter showers continue for a time from interior Maine into much of New York State, northern Pennsylvania, even northern lower Michigan. Today looks rather impressively dry for a large chunk of the nation, from the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes to the Pacific Northwest and West Coast, the Plains, and the Midwest. In Augusta, Georgia, today brings clouds and a shower and thunderstorm, perhaps gusty, high 82. For Medford, Oregon, expect sunshine and a high of 83. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts when you search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. In the Oval Office, President Trump says he's going after groups that encourage political violence. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The memorandum from the president comes in the wake of a deadly attack on an ICE facility in Dallas and weeks after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed during a campus tour stop in Utah. Tensions nationwide are high, and Americans are feeling it.
It just makes you wonder, isn't this just where this country's going? You know, all the violence that you're seeing, on a daily basis, every day.
This week, President Trump signed a presidential memorandum that aims to identify organizations that back what officials call domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical, politically motivated groups. The president didn't name any group specifically, but has blamed the Kirk killing on what he called the radical left. He did float the names George Soros and Reid Hoffman, which led critics to bring up concerns that the president's going after his political opponents. Investigators in the Dallas attack say it's not believed the suspect was tied to any specific groups. I'm Clayton Neville.
A federal judge has thrown out a former FBI agent's claims that he was wrongfully fired for disparaging texts he allegedly sent about President Trump. Correspondent Ben Thomas explains.
I guess you could say they're dirty cops.
President Trump in 2019 talking about now former FBI agent Peter Strozk and former FBI lawyer Lisa Page.
We got their text messages, and what they said in those text messages was shocking. when you talk about bias.
Strozk was part of the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and told Congress in 2018,
"At no time in any of these texts did those personal beliefs ever enter into the realm of any action I took."
In a lawsuit, he made a First Amendment claim saying he was wrongfully fired from the agency over those texts, and the FBI caved to pressure from Trump. But now a federal judge has rejected Strozk's claims, saying the FBI's interest in avoiding the appearance of bias outweighed his interest in expressing his political opinions. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Pushback on Prime. Amazon in the hot seat when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Let's get going with Morning Business. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street gets going today with stocks coming off a losing day and the S&P 500 index down 4 straight days, its longest losing streak in a month. CNBC's Mike Santoli says the pullback, though, yesterday could have been bigger.
The market has had every excuse to have a more meaty pullback this week. It came in overbought. You obviously have the seasonal weakness, but it's really not an across-the-board retreat. Things have stayed orderly.
Amazon will pay a $2.5 billion settlement. It was accused by the Biden administration FTC of tricking customers into joining the Prime membership program and then making it hard for them to cancel.
Now, regulators saying Amazon tricked and trapped millions into subscriptions and then made cancellation confusing and difficult. Now, as part of the settlement, they will be creating a $1.5 billion consumer fund to reimburse the 35 million customers who were impacted. This settlement ends one of the highest profile consumer protection fights in years. It is one of the FTC's largest penalties yet.
CNBC's Mackenzie Sigalos. Existing home sales were flat last month after that blockbuster August for the builders and a 20% increase in the sale of newly built homes.
Existing home sales were essentially flat in August. Supply is the new story in this month's report. It is suddenly dropping as sellers come off the market. It is now a 4.6-month supply of homes for sale. That's considered lean, though, and that's keeping prices in the positive. The median price of a home sold in August, $422,600. Still up 2% year over year and the 26th consecutive month of annual price gains. Homes are now staying on the market longer, 31 days, up from 26 last year.
CNBC's Diana Olick. Starbucks is closing stores and firing workers. It's a $1 billion restructuring, about 100 stores and nearly 1,000 workers will be gone.
Starbucks just filing an 8K. The filing says the company assessed its existing store portfolio with respect to both whether its coffee houses had a viable path to offering the physical environment that they feel is consistent with the brand and a clear path to financial performance. It's going to close those coffee houses that do not meet the criteria. 900 layoffs. They did lay off about 1,100 employees, many of them in corporate headquarters earlier this year. So definitely focusing on the stores that are working under this new Back to Starbucks plan.
CNBC's Kate Rogers. On today's watch list, we get the latest on inflation in the PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditures Report. We get fresh data today on personal income and spending for Americans. The Ryder Cup Golf, U.S. versus Europe. The tournament begins this morning. And Cracker Barrel has $5 all-you-can-eat pancakes today as it tries to lure back customers after the rebranding backlash.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Sean Diddy Combs' sentencing. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The prosecution and defense in the Sean Diddy Combs prostitution case are preparing for the Grammy-winning hip-hop producer's sentencing. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Sean Diddy Combs returned to a federal court in Manhattan Thursday for a hearing that could help the judge determine how long behind bars Combs could serve when he's sentenced October 3rd. The Grammy-winning producer will have spent nearly 13 months in prison on sentencing day, and his lawyers argue that he should be given no more than 14 months in prison. With credit for good behavior, that could mean an immediate release. Prosecutors say Combs should spend at least several more years in prison. Combs was convicted of prostitution-related charges in July, but was acquitted of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, which could have led to a life sentence. I'm Donna Warder.
A scathing report finds serious flaws in the response to January's Los Angeles area wildfires. Ed Donahue reports a lack of communications and outdated policies need to be addressed.
An outside review reveals flaws in response to the deadly wildfires in January around Los Angeles. More than 30 people were killed. The Eaton and Palisades fires destroyed thousands of homes in Altadena and Pacific Palisades. The independent after-action report says there were delayed evacuation warnings because of a lack of resources and outdated policies. Interviews with survivors and an AP analysis of available data shows evacuation orders for some neighborhoods of Altadena came long after the houses burned down. Similar delays were reported in Pacific Palisades. The report also says first responders and incident commanders were unable to consistently share information because of unreliable cellular connectivity and other issues. LA County Supervisor Catherine Barger says this isn't about pointing fingers. It's about learning lessons, improving safety, and restoring public trust. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Friday, September 26, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Investigators say the shooter in the attack on an ICE facility in Dallas looked to create terror. I'm Clayton Neville.
President Trump hosts Turkey's president amidst talks on sending the NATO ally new fighter jets. I'm John Stolness in Washington.
John Bolton facing indictment. Good news for the economy. A 911 emergency hits 2 southern states, and a warning from former Fed chairs to the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll have those stories.
Leonardo DiCaprio is on the run in his latest feature film. I'm Kevin Carr.
Merriam-Webster is adding 5,000 words to its collegiate dictionary. I'm Ed Donahue.
Back after these messages. Welcome back here with America in the Morning on this, the first weekend of autumn 2025. Here's a check of the outlook with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A cold front stalling for a time along the eastern seaboard and into the southeast is going to be the focus for the most widespread precipitation chances in the nation today, with generally warm and humid conditions near and ahead of this feature, helping to enhance the risk for some rain to end the work week. This should be most noticeable over the southeastern states, where the area near the coast from southeastern Virginia to around Jacksonville, Florida, may end up with some intense downpours at times later today, thanks to all that moisture in place. However, with the actual front likely lagging back toward the central Gulf Coast and into interior Georgia for much of the day, anywhere close to the front from southern Mississippi to eastern Tennessee may have at least a thunderstorm today. Farther to the north, a bit of atmospheric energy left behind in the wake of the cold front will be the trigger for more spotty coverage of showers from northern Pennsylvania, north and east through all but southeastern New York and across northern New England. A shower still can't be completely ruled out today along the I-95 corridor from Philadelphia to Boston to Bangor, Maine, although the coverage of any activity so close to the coast is expected to be quite minimal through the day. Otherwise, the Southwest looks like the only other region of the country where some precipitation may be widespread, and that takes the form of some afternoon thunderstorms, mainly centered over Arizona and New Mexico, as the latest round of moisture works its way into the region from the south. This moisture continues to expand northward through this weekend, helping to support more showers and storms that should bring both beneficial rain but also localized flash flooding, along with a lightning-sparked elevated fire risk through the weekend, even some locally severe thunderstorms at times. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. We're learning more about the motive behind a sniper-style shooting on an ICE facility in Dallas that left one detainee dead and 2 others critically injured. Correspondent Clayton Neville has a follow-up.
29-year-old Joshua Yan opened fire on a van of detainees outside the ICE facility in Dallas early Wednesday morning,
where numerous ICE employees do their jobs every day.
FBI Dallas Special Agent in Charge Joseph Rothrock says that Yan carried out an extensive, premeditated plan.
He knew with a high likelihood ICE detainees would be transported that morning in the exact location where he was facing from his perch on a nearby rooftop.
Yan shot and killed himself after the attack. And following a search of a home that he lived in north of Dallas in the town of Fairview, notes were found by investigators that he left behind, indicating he acted alone.
The sniper explicitly states, "Yes, it was just me." That statement appears to be correct at this point in the investigation.
Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson.
These loose notes included a game plan of the attack and target areas at the facility. He called the ICE employees people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck. He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility. He hoped to minimize any collateral damage or injury to the detainees and any other innocent people.
So in reference to the detainees being the victims in the shooting,
it seems that he did not intend to kill the detainees or harm them.
Larson said Yan wanted ICE agents to feel, quote, real terror.
He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking.
She called that
the very definition of terrorism.
It's not believed that Yan acted as part of a group specifically, but the shooting has escalated the conversation about political violence. Senator Ted Cruz saying simply, this is wrong. Federal facilities in Dallas and nationwide now under heightened alert and increased security in the wake of this week's attack. I'm Clayton Neville.
Former FBI Director James Comey, not the only former government official who's being investigated for possible wrongdoing and could face possible criminal charges. Correspondent Donna Warder reports on the documents seized from the office of President Trump's former national security advisor.
According to court filings unsealed this week, multiple documents seized by federal agents from the office of former National Security Advisor John Bolton are labeled classified, confidential, and secret, and appear to be about weapons of mass destruction, national strategic communication, and the U.S. mission to the United Nations. Many of the documents contain partial or full redactions. Bolton was President Donald Trump's national security advisor during his first administration, but he served only 17 months and was ousted after clashing with Trump over Iran, Afghanistan, and North Korea. Bolton's attorney Abby Lowell says in a statement that the documents don't indicate wrongdoing by his client and that many of them are decades old. I'm Donna Warder.
Reuters is reporting that prosecutors in the Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office leading the Bolton probe and attorneys from the department's National Security Division are pushing back against pressure from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's office, and that the FBI searched Bolton's Maryland home and Washington office in August, seeking evidence of possible violations of the Espionage Act. According to a partially unsealed search warrant filed in federal court, the Washington Post is reporting that many of the files uncovered in Bolton's possession are 20 years old or more. It's also being reported that the Department of Justice may try to present their evidence against Bolton to a grand jury as soon as next week. On Thursday afternoon, President Trump welcomed Turkey's President Erdogan to the White House for a discussion on trade, the war in Ukraine, and the Middle East. John Stolnis has more from Washington on the wide-ranging discussion.
Speaking to reporters from the Oval Office before their meeting, the president noted the warm friendship he shares with Erdogan.
When I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out, test a friendship. But he's a highly respected man.
Trump said the U.S. may consider lifting its ban on the sale of F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, who is a NATO ally, put in place during Trump's first administration.
They want to buy F-16s, F-35s, and some other things, and We're going to talk to them about that.
The president said he and Erdogan would discuss the war in Ukraine, indicating one way in particular Erdogan could help.
He's somebody that, if he got involved, the best thing he could do is not buy oil and gas from Russia. If he did that, that would be probably the best thing. He knows Putin like I know Putin.
Since 2023, only China and India have bought more oil, gas, and coal from Russia. The U.S. government has had concerns over Turkey's close ties to Russia under Erdogan's rule and has previously voiced concerns over human rights violations in that country. The president was also asked about FBI Director James Comey, who later in the day was indicted on charges he lied to Congress by prosecutors in Virginia.
I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. But I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
He also blamed Democrats over the likelihood of a government shutdown next Wednesday.
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegals.
As well as for a rise in violence, notably a shooting at a Dallas ICE facility that left one detainee dead and 2 wounded.
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things. And they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually.
John Stolnis, Washington.
Among the stories we're covering next, former Fed chairmen agree on this, and tech giants in court over AI. America in the Morning, back after these messages. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered nearly 800 top senior military leaders stationed around the world to come back to Washington for a meeting set for Tuesday. Normally, meetings like this are set months in advance, but the order was given this week. The Pentagon declined to disclose the reason for the meeting, which will occur at Quantico, a Marine Corps base around 30 miles south of the Pentagon. All senior officers above the rank of Brigadier General must attend the meeting. The Pentagon has not disclosed what it'll be about. Shifting gears, every living former Fed chair has joined in an amicus brief warning the Supreme Court against allowing the removal of Board Governor Lisa Cook. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Former Federal Reserve Chairs Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke, and Alan Greenspan have signed on to a Supreme Court filing urging the justices to reject President Trump's attempt to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. They join a bipartisan group of former Treasury secretaries and White House officials arguing that allowing her removal would undermine the Fed's independence from day-to-day politics. The brief refers to a broad consensus that a more independent central bank will increase confidence in the U.S. dollar. The brief also argues that if political pressure forces the Fed to lower its key interest rate for a short-term boost to the economy, quote, price setters would not believe a future Fed announcement of a commitment to low inflation policies, unquote, leading to a vicious cycle of inflation and unemployment. Trump sought to fire Cook last month after members of the administration accused her of mortgage fraud and brought the case to the Supreme Court after an appeals court allowed Cook to keep her job as her case works through the courts. Jennifer King, Washington.
2 southern states are slowly returning to normal after their 911 emergency lines suddenly stopped working. Lisa Dwyer reports.
If you tried to call 911 from Mississippi or Louisiana on Thursday, all you might have heard was this. But 911 systems across Mississippi and Louisiana are now back online. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency says that AT&T was reporting damage to some of its fiber optic lines and that was affecting 911 services across the state. Across Louisiana, 911 phone lines were also down. The state's most populous cities, including Baton Rouge and New Orleans, were also reporting emergency system outages. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The U.S. economy grew at its fastest pace in nearly 2 years, sparked by a decrease in imports. Correspondent Paul Wiseman has the numbers.
The American economy is showing surprising strength despite uncertainty caused by President Trump's trade policies. The government reported Thursday that the economy grew at a healthy 3.8% from April through June. And Thursday's numbers were a big and unexpected improvement on the government's earlier estimate of second quarter growth. Economists have worried that President Trump's taxes on imports would weigh on the economy this year. And in fact, they do seem to be hurting the job market. But in the economic numbers that came out Thursday, consumers came to the rescue. They spent far more than expected, especially for services like eating out and traveling. But not all the news was good. Investment in housing dropped largely because of high mortgage rates. And with the economy looking so strong, the Fed may not feel it necessary to cut rates aggressively, despite intense pressure from President Trump to do so.
Correspondent Paul Wiseman reporting. The battle of the AI tech giants is heating up, with Elon Musk's XAI taking ChatGPT parent OpenAI to court again, this time for poaching engineers. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
Elon Musk's XAI is throwing punches at OpenAI, accusing them of playing dirty with the race to build the ultimate AI chatbot. In a lawsuit, XAI claims that OpenAI is poaching talent to swipe trade secrets, giving ChatGPT's maker an unfair edge. The complaint zeroes in on former XAI engineer Zhenshen Li, who allegedly took confidential info to OpenAI alongside with other hires like engineer Jimmy Frazier and a senior finance exec. In XAI's lawsuit, they say this is a deeply troubling pattern targeting its tech like Grok's source code and other data center strategies. Musk has an existing lawsuit over OpenAI's for-profit shift and has dragged Apple into the fray for allegedly teaming up with OpenAI to kneecap their rivals. For more, find me on X at Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning continues with Friday Sports. Here's Robert Workman.
NFL Week 4 began last night as the Seahawks squawked past the Cardinals 23-20. Seattle had a 20-6 lead midway through the fourth quarter, but Kyler Murray fired 2 TD passes to tie it with 28 seconds left. But that was just enough time for the Seahawks to get Jason Myers into position for a 52-yard game winner. Baseball Thursday, the Tigers finally pulled out of that 8-game nosedive, beating the Guardians 4-2 to pull even again atop the AL Central, though Cleveland still holds the tiebreaker. The G's will host Texas for the season's final weekend, while the Tigers head to Fenway Park. Boston is second in the AL wildcard, a game ahead of Detroit, and 2 up on Houston. The Astros snapped a 5-game slide with a win over the A's. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays ripped the Red Sox thanks in large part to Dalton Varsho's grand slam. Giancarlo Stanton's bases-clearing double pushed the Yankees past the White Sox.
Yeah, we're playing well. We're executing offense and defense, throwing the ball well, so good time to click.
New York and Toronto remain tied for the AL East lead. The Jays own that tiebreaker. The AL West champion Mariners rolled over the Rockies. It's their 17th win in the last 18 games and clinches a first-round playoff bye. National League has 3 teams vying for the last wild card. The Mets clipped the Cubs. They're a game ahead of the Reds, who nipped the Pirates. Meantime, the Diamondbacks lost to the Dodgers. Arizona 2 games out with 3 to play. And golf's Ryder Cup tees off this morning at Bethpage in New York. That's Friday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, word salad, new phrases to enter the dictionary after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Israel's soccer teams are facing a potential ban from international play over the war in Gaza. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports it's a plan that President Trump says he's against.
European soccer body UEFA is moving toward a vote to suspend its member federation Israel over the war in Gaza. People familiar with the proposal told the Associated Press on Thursday. A majority of UEFA's 20-member executive committee is expected to support any vote in favor of suspending Israeli teams from international play, 2 sources told the AP. The move comes 2 weeks before the Israel men's team is due to resume its 2026 World Cup qualifying group with games in Norway and Italy. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Paul Thomas Anderson has a new and complex political thriller heading to theaters this weekend. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at One Battle After Another.
P.T. Anderson hits the ground running with his new thriller, One Battle After Another.
What time is it?
I
I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the passwords.
Leonardo DiCaprio plays a former member of a group of far-left agitators who now spends his days raising his teenage daughter.
Bringing justice to the vigilante group known as the French 75.
When a man from his past paints a fresh target on him, they go on the run.
They got her. Now they're coming after us.
The strong cast also includes Regina Hall, Benicio del Toro, and Sean Penn in a chilling performance as the antagonist. Anderson utilizes them well, letting them carry the emotional weight of the film.
Say it, baby.
Love you, Bob.
Love you too.
The most refreshing thing about this movie might also be its most divisive. Anderson refuses to follow standard script convention, which allows for a long-form story to unfold but remain unpredictable.
You know what freedom is? No fear. Just like Tom Cruise.
It also presents the characters and their actions and outcomes in shades of gray. There really aren't any good guys in this film, but there's plenty of bad guys and worse guys.
The message is clear.
I'll be seeing you very soon.
Not if I see you first.
It's complex and interesting with shockingly relevant moments and a delivery that has a lot to say about political discourse and power.
This is an announcement on revolution.
One battle after another gets 4 revolutions out of 5.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you. Viva la revolution!
I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
It's update time for words like dumb phone, bad bod, and hard pass. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on more than 5,000 words heading to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
Merriam-Webster is adding 5,000 words to its collegiate dictionary. It's been 22 years since the dictionary has been updated, and a lot has changed. The new words include petrichor. That is a pleasant odor after rainfall following a warm, dry period. Dumb phone. That's a device used before there were smartphones. Speaking of technology, there's
teraflops,
a unit of measure for calculating the speed of a computer. This new word every teenager should know.
Riz.
Other additions are ghost kitchen, dash cam, dad bod, cold brew, hard pass, adulting, and one with a political connection.
Cancel culture.
Merriam-Webster also got rid of some obscure and antiquated words, including N-wheel, meaning encircle. Collegiate originally focused on the needs of college students. The general interest, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, is more popular. I'm Ed Donahue.
America in the Morning for Friday, September 26, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.